Welcome, everyone, and good afternoon. We'd like to thank you for joining us today as we discuss various strategies schools can implement to address the e-cigarette and JUUL usage on campus. We'll also look at some strategies a few Texas schools are currently implementing, as well as any future plans. We hope this particular discussion will be the first of many, so we would like to invite you to contact us and inform us of the efforts occurring on your campus or within your school district so we can all work together and learn from one another. Before we begin, I would like to draw your attention to the informational box at the bottom of your screen. Here you'll find information about troubleshooting technical difficulties and information about evaluations. Access to the webinar slides and other materials will be available upon completion of the webinar evaluation. Also, you will receive an email notification when the recorded version of this webinar is available. We do ask that as you encounter technical difficulties, to use the chat box titled Support at the bottom of your screen for further assistance. We do encourage you to type any questions you may have during the webinar, as staff will be able to respond to you. Once the presentations have concluded, we will be able to address any unanswered questions. So let's meet the presenters. Patricia Stepaniuk is the program coordinator for Catch My Breath Youth E-Cigarette Prevention Program. She is responsible for the community outreach and technical support of the program, as well as curriculum development and updates. Patricia has worked across several industries, including tax and accounting, hospitality, and construction as a marketing and business development coordinator in various capacities. Her love of serving the community and building a healthier tomorrow led her to public health and eventually the Catch Global Foundation. Patricia has a master's of public health with an emphasis in health promotion and behavioral sciences from the University of Texas Health Science Center and a Bachelor of Arts in Communication and Spanish from Texas A&M University. When she isn't crushing it at work, Patricia enjoys running on the trails of Austin and volunteering for various Central Texas organizations, including Girl Start and South by Southwest. So thank you, Patricia, and we are so glad that you're here today. Our next presenter will be myself, Kathleen Bates. I am the Tobacco Youth Prevention Program Manager at the Texas School Safety Center at Texas State University. My background comes from the San Antonio Council on Alcohol and Drug Awareness, where I discovered my passion for working with youth and communities. I've been a part of the Tobacco Youth Prevention Program at the Texas School Safety Center since 2015, and I am currently pursuing a master's in public health education at Texas State University. So let's get started. Electronic cigarettes. Yeah, they really aren't grandma's tobacco anymore, are they? While the tobacco industry has been modifying their products since the 1800s, the most significant product evolution has been that of the cigarette. With each modification came unfounded health claims, advertisements, product design, various levels of nicotine, and intriguing flavors and product packaging. As e-cigarettes like JUUL have entered the market, the consumer landscape of these products has consisted mainly of youth and young adults. And that's because traditional cigarettes remain popular among adults, whereas adolescents and young people are more likely to use flavored tobacco or nicotine products. ABC Nightline created an extremely informative and eye-opening special about e-cigarettes like JUUL. The special discussed the serious and concerning nature of this product usage among youth, so I'd really like to share that video with you all. It is a little lengthy, but it provides a detailed look into how youth view electronic cigarettes like JUUL, and I think it's extremely important to share.
It's the modern take on smoking behind the bleachers.
There's a parenting alert this morning about the danger of teens vaping.
The FDA warning about liquid nicotine used in e-cigarettes.
JUULing, named after this brand of vape pen, exploding in popularity among teens, a hidden trend now coming out of the shadows.
I've definitely seen kids JUUL in class.
Kids are going to the bathroom, smoking it in stalls. Next thing you know, you're hooked like that, and you can't stop.
School districts cracking down, parents up in arms, and kids, some unwittingly, becoming addicted to nicotine before they even graduate from middle school.
They're handed this product, and they don't know what it is, they don't know it's nicotine, they don't know it's bad for you, they don't know the long-term consequences.
The JUUL heats up liquid nicotine that users inhale, made for adult smokers looking to quit cigarettes.
I'm like constantly encouraging people to use this and not smoke.
They feature flavors like cool mint and fruit medley. It's capsules or pods, which some kids tell us they go through in a day, contain roughly the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes. Its packaging more like a Silicon Valley must-have than a smoking product.
You have a techie device. It looks really cool. It's slim. You can hold it in the palm of your hand. Your teacher, your parent has no idea what's going on. You can get it in cool flavors.
Those flavors, part of what freshman Margarita Ferreira says enticed her.
I've never been exposed to tobacco. Why would I try it? But since I was exposed to fruit, obviously, and mango and mint, that I just thought it was okay.
She says she's been JUULing for about a year, and she started in 8th grade.
The first time I used a JUUL, I couldn't stop coughing. I didn't really like it, but then after I got the hang of it and I was able to get head rushes, I just didn't want to stop using it. It's just a part of my life now that I know it's bad, but I can't stop.
Margarita sharing her struggles alongside her high school classmates in this now viral video.
All of the people in my grade started using it.
When I'm doing my homework every night, I'll be writing and then all of a sudden I'll want a JUUL rip and I'll have my pencil in my right hand and my JUUL in my left.
The project, the brainchild of high school senior Jack Waxman, who says he grew more and more concerned watching his friends struggle with nicotine addiction.
The problem was getting worse and worse in my school, and I felt like I wanted to create a video as a kind of like a cautionary tale to 6th graders maybe who are thinking of starting the JUUL.
Kids say a JUUL is easy to conceal. E-cigarette vapor less visible and less odorous compared to smoking.
With cigarettes right now, it's highly stigmatized. It's very frowned upon to use it, but with the JUUL, kids see it as something that is kind of just like their iPhone. You know, they have their JUUL in their iPhone.
At school, kids will leave class to go to the bathroom because at any point of the day, there will definitely be someone in the bathroom. Either it's the girls' or boys' bathroom, there will be someone with a JUUL or any type of e-cigarette.
A month after that video went live, Jack's about to take his advocacy work up a notch. Off to meet with legislators to try to raise the age to buy any kind of nicotine in his county to 21 and lobby against those vape flavors.
Do you ever wonder, though, if you banned the flavors here, that it would just pop up elsewhere?
So I think if we ban the flavors in Westchester, I think that it would set a great precedent in New York, and maybe other counties would follow suit. I think we have the possibility to have a great ripple effect, and for Westchester to take the lead and to kind of be the first step in a long line of youth prevention.
The e-cigarette industry has surged in popularity, with JUUL leading the pack, increasing its revenue by 700% last year. And with it, a swell of online fandom, jokes, memes, and tricks posted by users, not the company, dedicated to JUUL culture. Hashtags like Do It For JUUL, all adding to the cool factor that some say is drawing kids to use.
This little flash drive, feel it in your hands. It feels like really, really sleek.
Jack's literally showing these lawmakers what they're dealing with, asking them to crack down.
I'm promoting regulating the flavors across the entire population. This is a list of where cities and counties have regulated flavored tobacco products for the entire population.
The 2009 Tobacco Control Act banned flavors in regular cigarettes across the country. Jack now wants to ban e-cigarette flavors as well. JUUL says our flavors are in no way intentioned for underage use, noting that our data shows that flavors play a critical role in helping adult smokers permanently switch from cigarettes to JUUL. Adding that all of our adult flavors are tested on adult panels only, and we specifically avoid excessively sweet flavors like cotton candy or gummy bear.
Of course, you can't put up barriers on usage, but do you think you can put up barriers on the sale?
The legal department has to take a deeper dive into that.
In one study, 63% of JUULers between the ages of 15 to 24 say they didn't even know the product always contains nicotine. Another recent study suggests that e-cigarettes are a gateway to traditional cigarettes, with roughly 3 million adolescents now using e-cigarettes, exposed to that risk.
These three flavors have no place in our society. They exist because of a loophole.
JUUL says their product is designed exclusively for adults looking to quit smoking, and they're investing $30 million to independent research, youth and parent education and prevention. Telling ABC News, we cannot be more emphatic on this point. No young person or non-nicotine user should ever try JUUL. And the research supports it. For adult smokers, switching to e-cigarettes could be a safer option. One study noting they don't have the lethal mix of carbon monoxide and 70 known cancer-causing chemicals found in cigarettes.
Well, I think if JUUL's intention, which is a good one, is to help adult smokers stop using more deadly product. Unfortunately, that's not exactly what's happening here.
While the long-term impacts of nicotine are still being studied, some experts warn the potential harm on a developing brain can't be overlooked.
And nicotine is very, very dangerous for adolescent brains.
Dr. Sarpur Taskaran is a child and adolescent psychiatrist.
By exposing them to nicotine chronically, then you irreversibly damage the reward systems in the brain.
He says nicotine use in adolescence can cause reduced attention span, diminished cognition, and enhanced impulsivity. The FDA has been criticized by health groups for delaying e-cigarette regulation, but the agency now beginning to look into the youth appeal of several companies, including JUUL.
Here.
Okay, thanks. What about the skepticism that this is like a game of whack-a-mole? Like you could stop it here, but it's going to pop up elsewhere. People will buy it online.
It comes down to more regulation in the form of legislation, more prevention in the form of youth-to-youth talks, and more engagement with parents. So I think the legislation is just a part of it, of a much larger movement and a much larger goal.
Just weeks after that initial meeting, a step towards that goal. Westchester County raising the legal age to buy tobacco and nicotine from 18 to 21. For Jack, a victory. He hopes the first of many. For Nightline, I'm Juju Chang in Scarsdale, New York.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here.
So, Texas 21 is one policy measure our state is considering during the legislative session. If you would like to learn more information about the bills, they are Senate Bill 21 and House Bill 749. Also, San Antonio and Leon Valley have recently passed local ordinances increasing the sale age from 18 to 21. So, numerous studies are still being conducted to evaluate the effects of electronic cigarettes and track usage rates among youth. In addition to what was mentioned in the video, we also know that e-cigarettes pollute the air with tiny particles that can lodge in lung tissue. We know that the vapor that comes out of an e-cigarette does not only contain water. It contains nicotine, formaldehyde, metal particles, propylene glycol. We also know that nicotine concentration levels vary in all cigarette products, so they're not made equally in scents. We also know e-cigarette use among youth is rising. Recently, the Surgeon General has classified e-cigarette use among youth as an epidemic. Earlier this year, the CDC published some interesting data regarding e-cigarette use among youth in the United States. The graph depicts e-cigarette use rates among middle school and high school students in 2017 and 2018. So you can see an increase among middle school students, but there's a drastic increase when we look at usage rates among high school students. That's a significant increase. The CDC also reported that 1.5 million more youth used e-cigarettes in 2018 compared to 2017. So if we look at that information and we kind of dive in just a little bit more, the CDC also reported that 1 in 4 high school students used a tobacco product in the past 30 days, and that almost 40% more high school students used a tobacco product in 2018 compared to 2017. They also reported that there was no change in the use of other tobacco products, so products like cigarettes, cigars, smokeless tobacco, hookah, during 2017 to 2018. So when you look at the image, you really can see that e-cigarettes like JUUL are the main reason for the increase in tobacco use among high school students, as well as the main product that is being used. So the question becomes, what can you do? What can you do as administrators, teachers, staff, and parents when addressing the issue within a school setting? The answer is through a comprehensive approach. While various strategies can be implemented separately, implementing a comprehensive approach requires a combination of efforts that work together to address different aspects of the problem. So we suggest communication, compliance and enforcement, and prevention as a way to ensure overall school health and safety regarding the e-cigarette and JUUL issue in schools. So in order to comply with policy, people need to be aware of it. It's important to provide clear and positive messages that will motivate students to comply. And there are a variety of options that schools can use to communicate their policy with not just students, but parents, visitors, and staff. And chances are these communication methods are already being used for other topics or areas of concern within the school. So it's really identifying how to use the same techniques when incorporating updated or new policy. So we can see here signage is an example. It's extremely important to update all tobacco-free school signage to include e-cigarette verbiage. A little later on, I'll show you an example of some signage that our program has to offer for download for free. Posting the information in staff lounges and offices, so a copy of your policy or posters and whatnot can go in the staff lounge and offices. Having announcements is important. Having student-led morning announcements where student groups or individual students get to create the content and then deliver it on the morning announcements. When you have events, meetings, or concerts, anything in general before the event begins, remind everybody that this is a tobacco-free campus that now also includes e-cigarettes like JUUL. Provide education is probably one of the most important things you can do as well. It's extremely important to educate your staff and train them on what to look for, what to smell maybe, or this is going to be our policy, this is how we're going to handle it. And also provide that same information to students. If you don't educate the students about the issue and you don't let them know what the policy is and what is expected of them, how can we be expected for them to follow the guidelines? Incorporating student-focused events and activities. Let students lead publicity. Help create positive peer influence by your student body. Maybe post maybe put a letter in the school newspaper about, on the lookout for this policy. We're updating this policy. This is when it will go into effect. This is what this means. This is how this affects you. Utilize the school newspaper. Utilize parents. It's extremely important to utilize your parents because you can have them, they can get on board with your support efforts when it comes to enforcement with students and visitors. You can lead automated phone calls. So when it's back to school or when you've had a break for spring break or Christmas break, you can send out automated phone calls reminding parents that this campus is now a tobacco-free campus that includes e-cigarettes like JUUL. And communicate violations. Call or meet with parents if a student violates the policy. Send a letter home with a summary of the policy, details of their student's policy violation, and consequences of this and future violations. You can also utilize local community organizations to help educate the community about the new policy at the school as well. So it's trying to find multiple areas of support and routes of communication. Compliance and enforcement. So enforcing school policy consistently and fairly strengthens a culture of respect and caring at school. It helps maintain a safe and healthy environment in which authority is respected. And all school personnel should be able to enforce the school policy. And that means food service, custodial staff, security, of course teachers, aides, administrators. All employees on the campus should be able to enforce that school policy. It's extremely important that they all know who to refer violators to. Who's the appropriate personnel? So maybe it's important for schools to identify first who that appropriate personnel is going to be and then how staff can refer those violators. And it's also important that we do try to remember to actually refer those violators. Sometimes giving a warning tends to happen, but the issue with giving a warning is that it leads to inconsistencies and unfairness. And so if we set out a policy and we expect everyone to abide by it, we need to make sure that we really are implementing it and reprimanding those who violate. Additionally, enlist student help. Again, it's one of the most important things that a school can do. Finding the student champions who want to help educate their peers about the policy and harmful effects of nicotine use creates positive peer influence. Encourage these student groups to model the appropriate behavior set forth within the tobacco-free campus policy by providing them opportunities to be leaders in their school. Put an emphasis on tobacco-free living when celebrating national and state events like Red Ribbon Week. Or choose a tobacco-free awareness day like Texas Tobacco-Free Kids Day or World No Tobacco Day, and ask student groups to plan some type of awareness activity that encourages their fellow peers to not use tobacco and nicotine products. By creating this type of environment, compliance will naturally follow as the school environment has created a healthy expectation of their student body. So we can see student council, National Junior Honor Society or National Honor Society, athletic groups, honestly any school group or any youth that really is a leader on school campus, try and utilize them to the best of your advantage and trying to create that positive peer influence when it comes to abiding by the policy that e-cigarettes like JUUL are not allowed on campus. In the image on the right is a youth group at Rockport Fulton Middle School who actually utilized Texas Tobacco-Free Kids Day, which was March 20th, to bring awareness to electronic cigarettes during the entire month of March. And so you can see that they provided banners and it looks like they got to decorate pants or jeans. It looks like a really fun day, and in creating that kind of environment to let your students be leaders and encourage others to live a healthy tobacco-free life is really important. Another example is from St. Joseph's Academy, which is a private school in Brownsville, Texas, and their focus was communication by increasing awareness among parents and the student body, as well as providing educational opportunities for staff, students, and parents. Their school truly believes that it's important to offer educational opportunities so the students are empowered to make a healthy, educated choice. So when they were trying to increase awareness, they did so by ensuring follow-up communication with parents anytime the student body received communication about e-cigarettes and tobacco use. Communication with parents also was meant to help encourage their participation and support by inviting parents to educational assemblies or meetings, as well as encouraging parents to have conversations with their kids about e-cigarette use. The school also utilizes their Facebook page to communicate with parents and the community about the different activities being implemented within the school to address the issue. The school also encourages student-led activities to help increase awareness around campus. Within this school year alone, a very active youth group, which you can see pictured in the right-hand picture on the screen, they were able to lead raffle tables at lunch to encourage students to ask questions about e-cigarettes and tobacco use. They conducted morning announcements. They created them and delivered them during Red Ribbon Week and a few other prevention awareness days. They had an art contest. They implemented that for the middle school building, and then they were able to display the artwork all around the building. The youth group also partnered with the art department to create large banners for both the middle school and high school building. And then the last one, chalk art, they were able to write and draw some interesting tobacco and e-cigarette facts from the CDC all along the sidewalks that led in and out of each building. So when I spoke with the counselor at the school, she said it was really interesting to see that everybody that entered and exited that building was actually reading everything that was written and drawn on the sidewalk. So really easy ways to just immediately increase awareness. When providing education, the same youth group led an assembly and invited a pulmonologist to present on a panel. So the panel had the pulmonologist, a few staff members, and a few students as well. And feedback from students and staff was very positive. They enjoyed hearing from a medical professional about some of the harmful effects of e-cigarette use. So the school is also implementing a prevention curriculum for middle school students, which you'll get to hear a little bit more about later, as well as asking a few of the science teachers to dedicate a class lesson to e-cigarette and tobacco use. So for instance, in middle school, the class lesson was for the environmental systems class. And so they discussed how tobacco and electronic cigarettes connects with the class of environmental systems. The same for chemistry in high school. So the chemicals that are found in tobacco and nicotine products is a great segue into chemistry class and so forth, like anatomy and physiology. So St. Joseph Academy, their next steps are to increase awareness and knowledge among the parents of their students. And the next steps for the particular youth group that's shown in the image, they're actually applying for a grant from one of the parent groups on campus to bring a key figure and expert in tobacco and nicotine addiction for another assembly for their student body. Alvin ISD, a school in Alvin ISD, I should say, recently met with school administration, a few youth leaders from that school, and ISD administration to discuss a plan of action for addressing e-cigarette and JUUL use in their school. Their plans include staff education and training about e-cigarettes and JUUL, as well as an educational assembly about just tobacco use overall for all grades in that particular school. The student and parent email will discuss the new compliance and enforcement policy, as well as upcoming activities that parents and students can attend to learn more about what strategies will be rolled out in the future. The email will also contain a fact sheet with key facts from the CDC, as well as information our program Say What provides and resources and trainings. Alvin ISD is currently revising their enforcement policy, but they are planning on notifying the entire student body what the policy will consist of and how they plan to discipline students who bring e-cigarette products on campus. And lastly, the district is planning a tobacco-free awareness day for all schools to help with compliance of the policy. Another example is a school in Austin ISD. So Austin ISD actually is currently implementing an e-cigarette and JUUL prevention curriculum in their schools. They're discussing future strategies to implement currently right now, one of those being a training to help teachers and staff identify signs of e-cigarette usage during school. One of the high schools within Austin ISD has a very active PTA, and they're currently raising money to install sensors in the restroom that will detect vapor because this particular school has identified e-cigarette and JUUL use in the restroom as a very large issue. So those are just some examples of what's been going on around the state of Texas. I think they provide a really great example of some different things that we can do, maybe some things we hadn't thought of or things that we normally do, but it's all about transitioning it to use for a focus on tobacco prevention, mainly electronic cigarettes like JUUL. And so with that, I'm actually going to pass it off to Patricia, who's going to talk about what a prevention strategy is. We're currently experiencing technical difficulties, so just bear with us for a second while we go ahead and get Patricia on.
Hi, everybody. Kathy, do you want me to go ahead and start or just wait on your end until you guys are all settled?
We are ready for you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take control of the screen. So as Kathleen said at the beginning of the presentation, my name is Patricia, and I'm the program coordinator for the Catch My Breath Youth E-Cigarette and JUUL Prevention Program. Our program was started as a part of an NIH grant in 2015-2016 by Dr. Stephen Kelder, who is the Associate Regional Dean of the Austin campus for the UT School of Public Health. And Dr. Kelder wrote this grant as a response to the 900% spike in youth e-cigarette use from 2011 to 2015. So since that time, our program has kind of exploded from a small pilot study to a nationwide program. And so I'll go into some details about our program and some things that we've seen across the United States. Kathy, for some reason, I am not able to request control. So if you could go to the next slide for me. Does that allow me to do it? Okay. All right, there it goes. Thank you so much. So I think there's just a little bit of lag. Okay, so our program is divided into 4 sessions that are 30 to 45 minutes apiece. We have our curriculum divided up right now as a curriculum for grade 6, one for grade 7, and one for grade 8, and then a high school curriculum which covers grades 9 through 12. Like I mentioned, there are 4 lessons in each of those curricula, and they're 30 to 40 minutes apiece, and it really just depends on how talkative your classroom is. Based on our pilot study and the way that we wrote the original NIH grant, we recommend that anybody who implements the curriculum does 1 lesson a week over the course of 4 weeks. That's where we've seen the highest efficacy and fidelity of the program. But we also understand more and more schools are telling us that that's not necessarily feasible because you've got to teach to state testing standards. There's so much other content and knowledge that needs to get put into a school year. So it's really difficult to dedicate 4 class periods. So we've developed different ways of being able to implement the curriculum in any type of environment. We use a variety of different educational strategies, including breaking up students into small groups for both peer leadership opportunities, but also group discussions. We help students set goals and conduct interviews and have writing exercises throughout. So we're not only covering health education standards nationwide, but also English language arts and some social schools, and also social emotional learning standards as well. And we really want teachers to feel empowered. So initially, this was meant for a traditional classroom setting for either a PE or a health teacher, but we've had everything from advisory, English language arts, math teachers, history teachers come in and teach this curricula, as well as community-based organizations like Say What, or a health department, or a Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, you name it, we've seen it. And we really want all of our teachers, all of our adult facilitators to feel empowered to use this curricula and make sure that you guys have everything that you need. So all of our lessons are fully scripted. We have additional what we call 2-in-1 and 4-in-1 resources on our website. And I'll go into how that looks here in just a minute. But essentially, we aggregate resources from the NIH, CDC, FDA, Truth Initiative, whoever else, the Mayo Clinic, to make sure that we're giving our facilitators as much information as necessary to feel like an expert in this curricula. So our program was developed for those of you that are health promotion and behavioral sciences or social psychology people. We used Albert Bandura's social cognitive theory. So essentially what that means is we want to disrupt the norm. So showing students that it's not normal to use e-cigarettes, although we have seen a spike in youth use over the last year, it's still not everybody that's doing it. So we want students to examine what their friends are doing and compare that to what they're doing themselves. We want students to develop skills and abilities, or again, for you behavioral sciences people out there, develop the self-efficacy to say no. So how do they resist peer pressure? Essentially, we're at a point in this epidemic that it's not if a student is going to be offered or put in a situation with e-cigarettes, but when. We want students to really look at how adverts are directed towards them. And it's the same fight that we went through with traditional cigarettes back in the 70s and 80s, that e-cigarette companies do not see them as an individual, but rather a number or a dollar sign. And we want to, with this next point, what we really want to say is creating favorable attitudes and beliefs against using e-cigarettes. So having them understand all different facets of e-cigarettes, from chemical compounds to what other things are in that e-liquid that they're putting into their bodies, and make sure that they make smart decisions for themselves. So as I mentioned, we go along with national academic health education standards and also English language arts standards, and also common core standards, so speaking and listening, for comprehension and collaboration, and also presentation of knowledge and ideas. We have the students develop a media advert campaign against vaping within the lessons. And then we've also gone through every single state across the nation, Texas included, and figured out where we align with the state education and ELA standards as well. So if you have questions about that, please let me know. So this is a sample of the high school content, but essentially we've laid out the lessons and the curricula into these different parts. So you see, like, we have program overview, we have a training for teachers, which actually just got re-recorded to include the new National Youth Tobacco Survey statistics, as well as some new products that are out on the market. We have parent resources. So we have a parent-teacher presentation that's been recorded in both English and Spanish available out there, and then as well as the different curricula. So if we take a deeper dive into one of the sessions, this is how it's broken down. So this is session 2, making our own choices, and the sessions are labeled the same across every grade level, because we essentially want students to get a dose in grade 6, grade 7, grade 8, and then one more dose in high school of the curricula. But we outline everything. So we tell you roughly how long everything should take, as you can see here on the screen. And then we tell you exactly what you would need as an instructor for this. So do you need the PowerPoints? Do you need, some lessons require index cards or torn up pieces of paper? Or if you've got sticky notes in your class or a dry erase board, we lay all of that for you out beforehand and do the lesson planning for you. So again, we want to make this as easy as possible and empower teachers and empower educators that you guys can be experts in this field with the help of our resources. Just some feedback that we've gotten from teachers. So this is from our 2017-2018 school year, and we'll be reviewing our 2018-2019 surveys in May and June. But more than 90% of teachers agree that the lessons are culturally appropriate to their students. And we all know that our classrooms can be diverse, and we want to be as inclusive as possible with that. And really, more importantly, is that teachers felt confident in their ability to teach the Catch My Breath lessons. We 100% understand that you guys don't look at e-cigarette news and scientific papers on a day-to-day basis, but we do. That's what we get paid for. That is our passion. That's where we lie. So we want to distill everything down to, again, empower you guys and make you feel like the experts. And then students agreed that they are less likely to use e-cigarettes as a result of participating in the curriculum. So I'll go over some preliminary pilot study results in a few slides, but just high level. And then a majority of students agreed that our program increased what they know about e-cigarettes. So even if they are less likely to use, don't feel that they're less likely to use, at least they have the knowledge available to make a smart decision about e-cigarette use. We also really work with the community. So right now, if you're in the Central Texas area, we're thankful enough to have a grant from St. David's Foundation to do parent-facing presentations, but also we work with schools directly to know not just about our program, but the importance of prevention. We really can't wait until students have already started using these devices. We have to hit them early on with knowledge. We want to make sure that we help teachers navigate the internal approval and consensus building around this. So it might just be building a business case for your campus. We provide webinar trainings, but also, individual national trainings as well. We make sure that all teachers have the materials necessary. So that's the outline that I showed you all earlier on our catch.org portal. We value feedback. So if there's something going on with the program that isn't kosher or needs to be addressed, we try and do that as quickly as possible. And we have student pre-post surveys as well as teacher post-program surveys that we look at every semester. So we did it in December. We're looking at those again in May and June to do a big curriculum overhaul in the summer. And then, we really love it when people share testimonials and stories. And I've got one of those in this presentation, but tag us on social media or send us your student work. We love promoting great work. And then we have support. So I am I'm the program coordinator. I live in Texas. Our program director is in Nashville, but we respond within 24 hours of getting something in to our Catch My Breath email address. So we just want to make sure that you guys are actively taken care of. This graphic kind of shows our program reach, and this was done as of the end of January of this year, and we actually just ran the numbers again. So this is thankfully out of date, but we are in 49 states. Delaware is the only state that has that implemented yet. Since our program's inception, we have now reached over 1,000 schools and over 322,000 students across the country, so which is absolutely fantastic. And like I mentioned, we work with state education agencies, departments of health, school districts, private foundations. Some just preliminary results from our pilot program. What we found is that in an average class, there's about 192 students in a 7th grade class. This is all 7th grade. 17 of those 192 will try e-cigarettes this year alone if we just do treatment as usual. So whatever the traditional tobacco prevention curriculum is, 17 of those will try e-cigarettes. Most tobacco curriculum either hasn't been updated to include e-cigarettes or really just includes a couple sentences or maybe a few slides about e-cigarettes and doesn't go into detail like Catch My Breath does. If that 7th grade class were to implement Catch My Breath as intended, 8 of those 17 would be prevented. So that's about 45% of the program, which doesn't seem like a lot, but if we add that up across the country, that's roughly 152,000 7th grade students that would be saved from trying e-cigarettes this year alone. So just one success story. This came in November or December of 2018, but this is a high school senior in Illinois and I'll read this out to you guys. It says, I chose to do it being e-cigarettes, but after recent thoughts and ideas in this class, the class being Catch My Breath, have chosen to stop. So it's one student, but if we can reach one out of everybody that is receiving our program, we're doing our jobs. And then this is just some more information. I've sent Kathleen a flyer to our program, which I believe she's going to send out to you guys. But if you want to review the program or wish to enroll, feel free to go to this website. All of the enrollment forms come directly to me, and I process those within 48 hours of 2 business days, really, of receiving them. And then thanks to a grant with our partners at CVS Health, the program is available for free to any middle school, high school, community coalition across the country that wants it. If you have any more questions about our program, please feel free to email me or give me a call. I'm here to help you guys out, answer questions about the program. If you just need somebody to talk to you about the vaping epidemic that's going on in your campuses, just give me a buzz, shoot me an email. I'm here for you guys. And that's all I've got, Kathleen.
Thank you, Patricia. And those resources, the flyer that she was talking about, that will be available at the end of the webinar evaluation. So you have access to that information that you can download and keep for yourself. Okay. So, in addition to the Catch curriculum, there are a variety of state and national resources available to schools. Almost all of the resources shared within the PowerPoint towards this section right here provide some type of free educational training or educational materials. And the first is our program, Say What. And for those of you who have not heard of us or are not familiar with what it stands for Students, Adults, Youth Working Hard Against Tobacco. And Say What was created by a group of youth for youth. So everything is very much peer-led and peer-focused. And so on the screen are just a few things that our program provides. One of those being mini grant kits, which are free educational resources and materials. Essentially, it's like a project in a box. And it comes with a wide variety of educational resources, materials, items that are attractive to youth. And so we work very closely with a youth advisory board at Say What that helps us design things that is friendly and appealing to youth. So again, designed by youth for youth. And on the left, that image, the Tobacco Facts Mini Grant Kit, is just an example of one of our mini grant kits. They focus on education, they focus on advocacy, they focus on the environment and health effects. Just a variety. It focuses on many more, but that's just an example of the different things we focus on. We also offer regional action summits, which are completely free as well. We travel all across the state of Texas to provide one-day trainings to middle school and high school youth groups across the state, whether they are a school-based youth group or if it's a community-based youth group. We train, when I say we, really it's our youth advisory board that is training other youth about the harmful effects of tobacco and nicotine products. And during this time, they're able to actually plan a project that they can take back home to their community or their school to try and implement change and to try and educate and increase awareness around tobacco and nicotine products like e-cigarettes and JUUL. We also have an annual conference each year, and it's like a summit, except it's a week, and there is so much more information, much more fun. We have a variety of professionals from different fields come and present on how you can utilize different areas and different topics of interest to really further your efforts in your community. And additionally, we offer online trainings such as this one today. We are currently working on a training module that will be available later in the year, early next year, where you can simply log on to our website and you can watch educational videos and get more education about tobacco and nicotine products. That is our email address right there, and then above that is our actual website. So please write that down or hold on to it and visit our webpage. Additionally, a mini grant kit that we did have was the Tobacco-Free School Signage Kit. This included a variety of materials that schools could use to put up around their school, and the verbiage includes e-cigarettes in it. So you can go onto our website and download this kit, and if there is a budget available for signage, please feel free to replicate this for your school or your campus anywhere, or it is an idea of what you could do if you would like to create your own signs if your district requires their own signage. But just an example of the different things, whether it be an aluminum sign for outside, posters for inside, window clings on all the teachers' doors or windows, cards, like handout cards that could be at the front desk, a variety of information. And the link to download this will actually be available at the very last slide of this webinar, which you'll have access to these slides as a PDF document after completing the webinar evaluation. The FDA's Real Cost campaign focuses on all tobacco product use prevention, but this campaign message focuses on educating youth about the harmful effects of using e-cigarettes. They highlight the risk of addiction and other health consequences through a variety of posters that are available for downloading or purchasing. These posters are intended to be displayed in common areas like the school restroom, where we often hear students using their e-cigarette product. And this campaign also has lesson plans and activity ideas that teachers can download for grades 9th through 12th. Another extremely important resource for schools to have is access to information about teen cessation. Nicotine is extremely addictive, and as schools begin implementing and enforcing policy, I think that they will find a large number of those students who are using e-cigarettes are addicted. So, programs that offer quitting services geared towards youth are extremely valuable. Smoke Free Teen on the left offers a mobile text messaging service called Quit Start, which is designed for youth and young adults in the United States who are trying to quit. This mobile app helps the user to create their own quit plan, check their progress, manage cravings, and find encouragement when they need it the most. On the right is Truth Initiative's mobile text message program, which was created with input from teens, college students, and young adults who have attempted to or successfully quit e-cigarettes. So the program is tailored by age group to give appropriate recommendations about quitting and also serves as a resource for parents looking to help their children who now vape. So access to the new e-cigarette quit program by Truth is as simple as texting quit to that phone number, but also for both cessation services, simple as enrolling online. And these links are clickable in the PDF, the PDF format of these slides that will be available after the webinar evaluation. And lastly, some more resources that I wanted to share, national resources and state resources. The CDC is a fantastic resource. Pretty much all the information from our slides came from the CDC. They have a wide variety of flyers and infographics. If you want to, attach one to whatever letters you send home, it's not a bad idea. Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, they provide access to hundreds of fact sheets about tobacco and nicotine topics like e-cigarettes and youth use rates of wide variety. And you can search by state or you can search by topic. Youth Engagement Alliance, they're an organization that is committed to professionals who are focused on tobacco prevention and control for youth. Tips from Former Smokers, we've seen a lot of those TV ads from the CDC, educating, giving examples of real people who are living with long-term health effects. Fresh Empire is another great youth-focused website. This Free Life. This celebrates the lives of LGBTQ plus community, and it seeks to improve their health by encouraging a tobacco-free lifestyle. So that may be a really beneficial resource to have on hand. And then the real cost as well. And in addition to those national resources, Worth It, which was created by the Texas Department of State Health Services. Now, yes, QUIT is geared towards adults, but we all know that students have parents or guardians, and some of them may be trying to quit tobacco. And so if we just have that knowledge, we can provide that knowledge whenever asked. And down at the bottom, the tobacco-free school signage, that's the link I was talking about, which you can click. That will take you to the downloadable link. And it's like a file drive that will download with all of the templates that of the items in that kit that you saw, and you can take that and get that printed. All right. So at this time, we'd like to answer any additional questions. So we'll take a moment to see if we receive any. In the meantime, though, I would like to remind everyone that we want to know what strategies or plans your school or school district is implementing or will be implementing. So feel free to type that into the chat box as well, or you can reach out to us at the email or phone number listed on the screen. While we are waiting for those questions to come in, I do just want to quickly apologize for all the technical difficulties that we did have today, and please encourage you to type any of those questions in. We're just going to wait another minute to see if we get any of those strategies that maybe you've been hearing. If you have kids that are attending any of the schools, whether it's a public or private school, and if you've heard of anything that may be going on in those schools, or if you work at a school and you've been having conversations and communications with your staff, we'd just like to hear whatever is occurring in your school. So we see Carrie Fisher is working with the school to create a youth prevention youth group. Again, I just want to remind you that youth-led activities is extremely important and beneficial when trying to get buy-in from your student body when it comes to compliance with a policy. Creating that positive peer influence is extremely beneficial when really trying to have your student body comply. So a question came through asking about increasing the age from 18 to 21 nationwide, and it has been suggested from the FDA. However, I'm not sure on that particular information, and we can get back to you, but I will remind you that that is currently a topic of discussion for our state of Texas. Those two bills are Senate Bill 21 and House Bill 749, I'm sorry, if you're interested in following up to see what that verbiage is. So for Texas, there is something currently, hopefully, will pass. We'll see. We don't know. But
Yeah,
nationally,
and Kathy, just on that, so our VP of Communications sits in on the Texas Senate meetings every Thursday, and so the Bill 21 has passed from committee and is now on the Senate floor for a vote this session.
yes, we did hear that, and that is exciting news. We are very happy to hear that. I think we're getting a few more people chatting in, so we'll just give it a second. All right. Well, thank you for those questions and information that have been given. We really appreciate that. Once again, you will receive access to the PowerPoint slides after completing the survey evaluation. You will receive access to that evaluation immediately after the webinar ends, as well as in an email. So if you don't have time to complete that right after the webinar, you will receive that in a follow-up email. In that follow-up email, you will also receive a notification when and where you can access the recording along with other archived webinars. And so again, I would like to thank Patricia from Catch Global Foundation for joining us today, as well as you, our webinar viewers. Thank you for sticking in there during our technical difficulties. Again, I apologize for those technical difficulties, and thank you. So this concludes our webinar for today, and we hope you enjoy the remainder of your afternoon. See y'all soon.